Hey everybody, Zach from Mythos here, and today we are wrapping up the Mike McCready Strat build video series. So far we have aged the hardware, we've aged the plastic, we've aged the body, and the last thing we've left to do is add all the electronics. So we're going to install the pickups, get this thing wired up and restrung and ready to play, and I'll give you guys some sound samples. So let's get into it. Okay, so what are we going to put in this guitar? We have new pots from CTS. These are 250K, the 450G guitar potentiometers. We have a Switchcraft jack, a new CRL 5-way toggle switch. I know a vintage Strat would have a 3-way toggle switch, but you know, this is what most people use these days. We have a shielding plate to go under the pick guard. Good way to block some noise and have ground continuity. Cloth covered wire, some masking tape to tape up that cloth covered wire. The Outback Tone Shack, I got this on Reverb. It's tone cap, a red dime style tone cap. And then last but not least, the ThroBak 63 Maximum Vintage Strat pickups. These were provided by ThroBak. Thank you guys, we appreciate it. These are gonna sound great in this guitar. And by the way, the stock electronics in this thing are actually really good, but we're going this distance, so why not put everything brand new in here and just see how cool we can make it. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is get all of the electronics on the pick guard. So shielding plate, pick guard. You have to make sure all the holes line up. Sometimes on these they have extra holes, but
free holes.
Hey, that's where the tone lives. But you just line that up. Everything should, all the holes should line up. I'm glad that it does. I'm not going to bother aging this. I've seen some people go that extra mile and age these, but we're not going to do that. We're going to put on the potentiometers. Let's see here. This, so in the initial video, I said I didn't really know where this pick guard came from, but I realized when I was trying to install the pots that the holes for the pots are actually too small. So this must be, I think that goes that way. This must be a import pick guard, but lucky for us it fits and it looks pretty good. I would hate to have to do all that distressing over again, but I don't think we will. We'll get all this sort of like roughed in, and then we will double check all our diagrams and then lock all this stuff down before we commit to wiring anything. I'm going to definitely try to measure twice, solder once on this sort of project. I don't want to have to go backwards and fix something if I can help it. This goes this way, right? Let's see.
Are you asking me?
I am. You know, I don't wire strats that often, so...
Really?
No. And I don't know what I did with my diagram. 2 seconds. Wiring diagram from ThroBak. Let's see. Okay. Ah, look at that. Okay.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I didn't change the microphone setting, so
It's okay.
might not be picking me up. A lot of people out there are really good. I need that extra Timmons commentary on here. I'm trying to learn something.
Get these installed. Those are nice and gross and rusty. I may age some of the screws a little more still with some the aluminum black, but for now this is fine. Okay, so there are those electronic parts installed. We're going to move on to the next thing. All right, so we're going to get the pickups installed. So the easiest way to go about that is just to grab a screw, shove it through there, put the surgical tubing on. If you're doing a vintage style Strat, you'll have the surgical tubing, and that'll hold the screw in place. I'm going to put the nastiest ones up here because those would have been sweat on and hit with a pick the most. Let's see, picking the grossest ones. That was pretty good. All right, I'll get all these put on and we'll get these pickups on. All right, now that the screws are on, get these pickups installed. So I have the covers that I aged and got them kind of yellowed on the side. Luckily, most Strats have pretty common spacing for all the pole pieces and stuff. So I'll get these on there. I usually like to start this with a hand driver, and then I'll use a electric to zip them up like so. There we go. Get the rest of these thrown on there. So those are in. We will adjust the heights and stuff after it's in the guitar. But now we're going to reference the diagram, maybe pull up some other photos of vintage Stratocaster wiring, and we're going to make this thing pretty. I have on my laptop in front of me some reference photos of an actual 62 Fender Stratocaster, and I'm going to try to route the wires in their approximate positions, and I may go ahead, let me switch on my iron, and tack these to the switch, and then we'll tackle the big lump of ground and all the other wiring here in a second. But I want to get all of this mess kind of started and dialed in. So vintage Strats, they had tape usually here and then down here, keeping everything bundled together. So we're just going to kind of make an approximate thing here. And we'll wrap it over, and then this will go to this terminal. Snip that excess off. And this is, again, pushback wire, so you just kind of hold the top and you can push it down. You expose that internal wire, you can grab it with some pliers and then pull it if you want, if it's not easy to push. Do that and get that there, kind of kink it over, and now that's in its position. I'm going to do the same thing for the middle position and the bridge, and then we'll get this thing looking pretty. You don't have to sweat it too much because a lot of vintage guitars, despite having nice materials like this, they actually sometimes they're not that clean inside. They can be a little
rough and ready.
Yeah, I mean, they just had to work, right? They're making so many Fender guitars. Fender was just on top of the world.
Leo was cranking back then.
Well, yeah. Before he sold, they were just in the mid '60s. Fender, was king. So get this one here. That's the bridge. This is the most tedious part of it, like making sure that you've got it kind of locked in and looking pretty. Come on. Sometimes this stuff is a real fight. There we go. Okay, get that. We'll get those tacked down, and we'll start getting all of this looking pretty. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll just tack these.
Make sure to breathe that in.
Mm-hmm. Don't breathe this. One more for the bridge. There we go. So now that those are done, we'll make all of this wire out here look extra pretty. So let's do that. Okay, so now all of this is going to go here. So I'm going to take just some normal, just 3M masking tape. And this might be a little wide, actually. You know what? I'm going to cut this and make it look how it's supposed to look. One piece. Now I've seen people actually like take the tape after they get it wrapped on there, and then they will even stain the tape to make it.
That's a little obsessive.
It's a little bit, yeah. I'd say.
So I'm shocked that you're not doing it.
I might. I can't help myself.
I didn't say it was a bad thing. I was just pointing it out.
Okay, now we're gonna get all of this stuff tied together here. Make this look nice. There we go. So all that is bundled together. We'll clip all this, push that pushback wire back, and ground to the back of this pot. So the next thing is getting the grounds connected. Because we're using a shielding plate, all of the grounds on the pots are connected via the plate, and I'll show you that. So if I put my multimeter in continuity mode, where if these two are touching, it beeps. Of course, if you touch the shield in two places, it will show continuity. But if you're also touching the shield on the back of the pot, then anything else touching that shield, there's continuity. So on vintage Strats, you have all the grounds for the pickups go into the back of the volume pot. You also have the claw ground for the bridge go into here, and then also the jack ground go into any of these. It can go to any connection. So for this bit, I'm going to clip all of this. We'll push this wire back. We'll add the ground connection on the back of the pot here, and start getting this wiring going. This is always a pretty nerve-wracking part, so do it about, let's go here. You can always...
You sure about that?
You sure about that?
You sure about that?
And then we'll do the pushback thing. So get a little bit, take my pliers here, and then
we got that.
pull. Maybe I should have done this before I taped it, but it's going to be fine. It's fine. Look at that. Right, Matthew?
In the end, nothing really matters.
Isn't that the truth? Life, meaning, meh. Okay. We're going to take those 3 exposed wires, twist them, get those all together, and then we'll go ahead and tin them with the iron. So that those are now one. All right, I want to make sure that the potentiometer is all the way to 0. I don't know why, but I've always heard that helps keep the life of your pots a little truer here. Before we add this ground connection, we need to ground this terminal to the back of the pot. So how I like to do that is just like to fill up the open area and then just kind of flow in solder there. And there you go. There's that. And by the way, Matthew, can you see this bit of amber color discoloration here?
A little bit, yeah.
So that's the flux. And if you don't like that, if you want to get rid of that, you can use isopropyl alcohol and a soft dish brush, like a hard toothbrush, and you can brush that off and clean up the pot if you don't like the look of that. And we might do that. So now I'm going to take these grounds and we'll put it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and tin that. It's right here. And I will flow just a little dab right there. And then I will kind of load up the tip of the iron, hold this down, and then flow that right on. Now we have a good connection. And to make that look a little extra pretty, we'll just clip off that excess. So we have a nice, clean connection. All of that's connected. So I have this dime, this red dime cap. This isn't exactly what a Fender had, but it's really close. It's the same sort of value, same sort of style. And it lives on this middle tone pot. So I have reference images on the computer of how I want this to kind of look. So looks like this goes around and is soldered to, let's just clip this long leg here. Soldered to the side of the pot, because since this has a coating, it's not going to have any sort of interaction with the pot itself. It's not going to ground anything out, having the cap just sitting on it. And then this leg usually goes into this terminal and through to the middle of this terminal. So we connect these two. So I'm going to probably remove some of this insulation and do that. So let me do that. Let me pull some of this insulation out and just give it a little, just that much. Oftentimes on vintage Strats, that was like a wax coated insulation. Something like that. There. So let me tin this and connect it to the back of the pot there, the side of the pot. And then we'll just tin the pot. Clip this. We don't need all that lead. Bend that down. And then there's that. That connection is there. And just connect this to this. And this to that. And there we go. That looks like, there we go. That tone circuit is connected on that part. Now, start running some wires. So now we're going to start doing some of the wiring on the switch and connecting all the potentiometers to that switch. So we have some excess cloth-covered wire from the pickup leads. So I trimmed it to be approximately where it needs to be. One of the things you can do is if you want it to be a little bit more exacting, you can kind of pull this insulation off a little bit, and you can feel on the end it's kind of looser here. Kind of pull it, then take your flush cutters, we can clip that, and we should be able to push it back down and have a little less insulation between those so it looks a little bit nicer. So now we have both those sides exposed. I'm going to put that into this outer terminal. Get this one into this inner terminal. There we go. That looks good. Not too much excess here. And then we're going to flow into this. Easy. And on this one, get it from the underside. Get that connected. Nice. Next thing, we'll be connecting the switch to the pots, so we'll have the tone circuit connected on here, and the output of the switch will go to the volume, and that will connect to your output jack. I left a little bit of exposed terminal down there for this connection. We will flow that on. That will go to the third lug of this volume pot. I find this stuff really relaxing most of the time. And I think like doing this stuff on especially a Fender style instrument where you have control plates and pick guards and stuff that has all the work on it, well, you know, has all the electronics on it. I just don't kind of see the point of buying a pre-wired harness for these sort of things unless you just want something that's you know, really pretty, but I feel like with practice, you can get stuff looking good yourself. It's not super hard. All right, so we don't use this terminal, and these two will go to the tone pots. I'm just going to do this the vintage way, leaving the bridge without a tone knob, and yeah, so the first one goes to the middle tone circuit. And that will come down, ooh, hot, and go to this first lug here. I like pushback wire when it works. Lucky for us, the ThroBaks have really good pushback wire, just like everything else that ThroBak does.
Not all pushback wire is created equal.
It is not. No, sometimes it is a real pain. So this is probably like Gavit style, which is really good stuff. All right, so that's that. And now we're going to go to this middle lug coming off this last terminal connection. So I'm going to grab some of this. I have some more of this off-white wire here. And we'll make this connection. This stuff is always just handy to kind of have like laying around, or at least I think so. But
yeah, why not, man?
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you're in a shop where we're doing stuff.
I love having
like
I love having things just always at the ready. At least I don't know. That's just my father and me, I think. I have that. Oh, I have the perfect thing for that. Okay. Now this one, we'll go over and get this middle lug. This stuff is even, ooh, it's all pre-bond. Ooh, fancy. So there's two kinds of wire. There's, you know, just normal stranded wire, and then there's pre-bond wire where the wire itself is actually tinned and soldered a little bit, and it's all connected. And that stuff takes solder a lot better. It's what we use in all of our Mythos pedals, available at mythospedals.com. Right, Matthew?
Man, about time you tried to sell something.
Hey. So there we go. That is everything but the ground connections. So we're going to need a ground connection for the bridge, for the output jack, and then this will be the output connection for the hot of the output jack. So yeah, there we go. I'm happy with that. Looks pretty. What do you guys think?
Gorge.
Wow. Aha. Okay. Cool. Looks good. I want to add a cloth-covered wire for the claw for the bridge because, you know, we're going this far. We're 3 videos in. We might as well.
The claw.
The claw. We might as well do this. So to remove this, you just heat up this little solder joint and boink. There you go. And then we will grab in there and pull that out. So need at least this much. I always like having a little extra on ground wires because inevitably you can always use a little extra. Right, Matthew?
In most things in life, yeah.
So let's go ahead and
Shiny.
shove that in.
It's like shining on it.
Oh man, we polished it a little bit. We'll talk about that.
That went really well.
Some of it did. So, yet again, we will expose some of this wire and get it over here for the claw. The claw. And I will go ahead and tin this a little further. Get my handy dandy chopstick. Oop, hello. And load up the end of the iron here. And flow that down. Hold that down. And there we go.
Man, that's good YouTubing.
Don't patronize me.
I'm just doing this bit.
All right, so there's that. All right. So now we have this. Next up, we will do the new output jack. Go in the jack cup. The jack.
He's got the jack.
I've got the jack. I never really always put it in like this because it's easier to work on, but I'm pretty sure it goes in the guitar like that. So I'm going to double check this before I put it in the guitar. But let's get this sort of prepped. I'm using a Switchcraft jack, getting rid of the import style one. This is just a much higher quality sort of jack in here. Want to make sure that's locked in there. Okay, now I'm going to test fit it. All right, so that is the correct way to orient your jack. So I'm going to add plenty of wire here. We'll just go. I don't know. What do you think?
Man, I have no clue. Do what feels right in your heart.
That's it, man. Well, we can always attach this and not clip it, and then kind of see how much we'll need. So when I'm doing new jacks, I like to kink that so there's almost a physical connection, and then we'll flow on. The solder. So this inner one, this terminal that goes to the inside of the jack, that's your ground connection. That's touching the sleeve on a mono style cable. We'll expose the pushback wire. There you go, like that. And then we'll do the same thing. Push it in. Kink it. That might actually be a little too much, so I'm going to go in and snip.
Sometimes you got too much kink.
Too much kink. It is a problem. That. And then we'll flow that on. And that ground connection is ugly, so let's fix that. There we go. There we go. Nice and hot. Woo! Okay. Test fit that in the guitar, and we'll get that in. We'll get this thing wired up and start tapping and see if it makes noise. We're going to kink the blade switch here. So we did this in the Telecaster video. One way to make sure that your switch tip doesn't fly off is, instead of using tape or any adhesive or anything in here, you can take wire cutters, grab hold of it, and then just squeeze, and it's going to give some little teeth on there that's just enough to hold that switch tip. There we go. Hold that switch tip in place. You can get it off, but now it's on there. So it's not permanent, but it's not going anywhere.
Sounds good.
Let's get this on the guitar. So the last three connections are the ground for both the jack and the bridge, and the hot for the jack. So we're going to get all of these put together here. We will do the same pulling back of the insulation. Riveting stuff.
This is your idea.
Hey, I love it. That. There's the hot for output jack. That goes to the second terminal here. So we'll just go ahead and get that one done. Kink that over. And flow that on here. There we go.
Beaut.
Clip off the excess here. And then the grounds, we will just add to this existing ground. We'll take these two that are exposed. Since these are tinned, these are actually a little harder to twist, so you might have to bust out some pliers to get these twisted together like that. We'll go ahead and tin these so they are a good solid connection. And then I like to follow the direction that all of this is flowing in. I'm going to clip this so it's not as long. Okay. And then get that and flow that on. There we go. All right, so we just tested everything. Sounds like everything's working. So we're gonna get this pick guard on. I'm gonna do a little fret work, just polish up some of these frets since the strings are off, and we'll get this thing strung up and get it ready to go. Okay, well, I'll save all the really crusty screws for crusty spaces.
Crusty screw.
What do you think about the hardware distress? Like, do you think this looks pretty good?
It's really good.
Okay. You're my barometer here, Matthew.
Yeah, man.
You're my relic barometer.
Man, I used to love seeing those guys just sweat at that parts distressing table over and over.
Just working.
Oh, it's hard.
Just working that
stuff.
stuff.
A lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Strat set, for the Ceres S or the Idris take about 90 minutes to do all the hardware for.
Oh, it does?
Mm-hmm. It's all the all the individual saddles and the claw and the spring. It's just tons of.
Did you guys distress the springs?
They do everything.
Should we distress the springs on this? I never did.
Say distress the springs 3 times fast.
Distress the springs. I can't.
I told you.
So this pick guard, I thought it would line up perfect, and you can kind of see some of these screws aren't exactly right, but I'm not putting everything flush. I'm going to try to get everything lined up best we can
I
here.
said something I shouldn't.
Yes.
I'll tell you guys off camera.
Okay.
Remind me, okay? Jeff.
Yes. I'm kind of okay if all the screws are slightly crooked because, like, if this was a vintage guitar, this pick guard would have shrank and screws would be pulling and not exactly right. And, that's okay. So, there we go. I think it's all right. Get these zipped down and get this guitar ready to be heard again. I loved it before, so I'm hoping I love it even more now. Right?
That's the goal.
It is the goal. So it is back together. I got to put the rest of the springs in here. And yeah, I'll have to play with the pickup height and whatnot, but I am really happy with the look of it. And yeah, I think this was worth the effort. It wasn't really that much effort. It just took patience, which is most things. It really just takes patience to get anything good done. But let's get this thing restrung and heard again.
Let's go.
All right. The Mike McCready Strat. It's all done. It's going to take some time to settle in. It's not had strings on it in a minute, but we've got it all set up. We've got the ThroBak Studio signature right here, sounding great. So here you go, the initial impression of the ThroBak pickups in this McCready. So, neck. sounds great. I can't wait to give you guys the before and after sound examples, but yeah, love it. Okay, and there we have it. The Mike McCready Strat is done for now. I am super blown away by the ThroBak pickups. These 63 Maximum Vintage Strat set sound incredible in this guitar. If you dig the best of the best for your guitar, go to ThroBak.com. Get you a set of their pickups. Thanks again to ThroBak for providing these. But all in all, I think the amount of work that we put into this really has paid off. I think the hardware looks really good. I think the body now looks a lot better. And yeah, I'm just gonna want to wrap this up with some final thoughts. So, is this worth it? I think so. If you're going to have an instrument like this that you like the neck, you like the feel, you like the weight, you like everything about it, but aesthetically it might not be doing it for you, everything we did was pretty minor and I think made a pretty big difference. The things that I think made the biggest difference was honestly aging the plastic. I think even though it's very subtle, it's a really simple way to add a little bit more of an authentic look to a guitar like this. And same goes for the hardware. Making the bridge rusted out, darkening some of the parts, same with all the screws. I think further sells the fact that this guitar is old and has seen a lot of love and wear and tear. A lot of the body stuff, I think, made a big difference, and it really came to life the moment we added the Montespresso. And a lot of these dings and dents where the Montespresso didn't really get cleaned out, it adds some more variety to the body and really makes it look like it's an old guitar. Now, one of the things that I may do still on this guitar is polish it. We kind of experimented with polishing some of the back to shine it up, and I think honestly it kind of helps sell the old look of it. I know that John from ThroBak has actually done that on a road-worn Strat. He's polished it all, and I think it looks pretty good. But all in all, I think this guitar is now way more realistic looking. It's maybe not quite custom shop. I mean, it's definitely not as close to a custom shop as I maybe had wanted it to be, but it's still really good, and I'm really happy with the results. I think this guitar is going to stay in the arsenal for a long time, or at least I'm thinking that for now. We'll see. Matthew's shaking his head no. But if you want to learn more about what we do and the pedals we make, go to mythospedals.com. Check it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos like this and all the stuff that's coming from Mythos. We got some exciting things happening. Thanks, guys. Catch you later. See ya.